What is up, my peeps? It is Mary Beth Eversole, the allergy actress, and I am here today to bring you a recipe using one of my absolute favorite foods of all time. You guessed it, it's fall, it's pumpkin. Pumpkin, pumpkin, I love it. I use it in everything. I am that girl. When fall rolls around, I'm doing pumpkin spice everything. Pumpkin bread, pumpkin spice drink, pumpkin cider, pumpkin, you know, savory stuff. It's just so yummy. And of course, pumpkin bread, pumpkin pie. And pumpkin's so good for you, and we will talk about that when we get to the ingredients. So let's get to the ingredients. Okay, guys, it is ingredient time. Now, this is a single loaf of bread, and you want to put it in a bread loaf pan that you grease. Now, I used butter, basically. Vegan butter, but you can use olive oil, you can use grapeseed oil, anything that you are okay with, you can use to grease your pan. So I'm just going to set that aside, and then we get to the next thing. So first thing is we have this flour blend, okay? So this flour blend is a combination. First of all, it's 1 1/4 cups of the flour blend. But let me tell you what's in this flour blend. It is 4 1/2 cups plus 1/3 cup of white rice flour. And then you get 1 2/3 cups of brown rice flour. And then you're going to have 1 1/3 cup of potato starch. That is not potato flour. Do not confuse the two. Potato starch. It's white. It'll poof up. You'll know the difference. And then you want to have a 3/4 cup of tapioca starch / flour. That is interchangeable. And then you want to have 3 teaspoons of a milk powder of your choice. Now, I used coconut milk powder for this. So again, that's 3 teaspoons. You mix that flour mix all together, and then again, this is what you come up with. So that, and then for the bread, you use 1 1/4 cup of that flour blend. Then the next thing that you're going to need is your corn-free, well, in my case, corn-free baking powder. The brand is listed in the recipe, so you can check that out. But this one, you're going to have just 3/4 teaspoon of the baking powder. And then you're going to use baking soda, just regular old baking soda, and you want a 1/4 teaspoon of the baking soda. And then you're going to have the pumpkin puree. Now, the pumpkin puree, I like to make my own, but you can also just buy it canned. It's fine. You're not going to use the whole can, though, for this bread. You only use 3/4 cup, so save the other puree for like a pie or something, okay? And then in the pumpkin puree, you're going to add a bunch of spices. Okay, here is my favorite spice. Of course, you all know cinnamon. I love it. Hold on, I gotta smell it. Ah, I love cinnamon. Cinnamon's so good for you. All of the antioxidant help. And it's also anti-inflammatory. It's a really excellent spice to use. And so you want to use 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now, if you don't like cinnamon as much, or if you're allergic, you can completely leave it out, or you can use less cinnamon. But I like cinnamon, so I put the full teaspoon in. And then you're going to have 1/2 teaspoon of salt. As you all know, I like to use the pink Himalayan salt. And so, and that's just 1/2 teaspoon. Pink Himalayan salt, minerals, all sorts of, that's why it's colored, that's why it's pink. You see those minerals from the sea. It's really beautiful and very helpful for your health. Okay, and then we want the nutmeg, which nutmeg also has a very distinct taste. And I really like it. It smells different than what it tastes like to me, I guess, but I love the taste. So you want 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg. Yes, I said 1/8 teaspoon. And then you want some ground cloves, and by that's ground nutmeg. Then you want some ground cloves, and this is literally just a pinch. Like you stick your hand in, and then you boom, like that. So that's why there's not that much in there. And cloves are like this beautiful, like dark chocolate brown color, and those give it a little bit of spice in there, which I love. Then you're going to have the white sugar, white cane sugar, and you want this to be 1/2 cup, and it's like, you know, you can use whatever sugar you want. You can use coconut sugar, you can use, you could probably even use honey or agave if you wanted to, but I find that the granulated stuff works better for this particular recipe, so that's why I use the white cane sugar, and that's, again, 1/2 cup, and then, of course, you want its brother, the light brown sugar, and you want half a cup of that as well. And oh, you guys, brown sugar is like awesome. I prefer it to sugar for sure. I feel like I could put it in anything and I would love it. And it goes really well with maple syrup. And by the way, as you can see, this is packed. You don't want it loose, you want it packed, okay? Then, so that's all like the dry stuff. Then you get your wet stuff. So the secret ingredient in this is the vegan cream cheese. You want about 2 ounces of plain vegan cream cheese. Unless you want it to taste like chives, then you can, by all means, get some chives cream cheese, but I wouldn't do that. Just plain is going to be just fine. And they might even have pumpkin cream cheese if it's fall time. I don't know, I haven't looked. But this is, again, this is the vegan. If you can have dairy, if you can have cheese, go ahead, by all means, use the regular cream cheese, but I have to use vegan. And then we want grapeseed oil. I use grapeseed oil because it's very good for baking. And for the baking, we want 1/4 cup of this grapeseed oil. It's got a really nice high cooking point, so it's a really excellent thing to bake with, and it's light, so it's not, you don't get that like greasy, like blah, blah, blah thing when you're baking. And then we have the eggs, 2 of them to be exact. Okay, now the eggs are free range, obviously, and organic. And then if you can't have eggs, this recipe you can make without eggs, but it takes a few steps. So, and I put those in the recipe. So if you want egg-free, check in the recipe because I'll tell you how to do it. You have to change the oil, you have to change a little bit of the baking powder, and then you also have to create the eggs. And so, and that's used with arrowroot starch and a little bit of water. So, but that's in the recipe. So check that out. And then the last thing you want is the other secret ingredient, which is buttermilk. Now, obviously, because I am dairy-free, I can't have buttermilk. So I choose a milk of my choice. Today I have chosen cashew milk. And you want 2 tablespoons of cashew milk. And then you mix the cashew milk with either lemon juice or you can use apple cider vinegar. Today I've chosen to use apple cider vinegar. And yeah, you put the 2 of them together and that makes buttermilk, which is basically just like a sour milk. And oh, by the way, the apple cider vinegar, you want a teaspoon of that. So that's everything, you guys. That's a lot of stuff going on there. But it makes this really beautiful baking awesome concoction, and I'm so excited. I can't wait. Okay, so let's get to the next step. All right. Okay, guys, step 1 is putting the flour with the baking soda and the baking powder. Totally easy. So you take your flour blend and you dump it in like that. Ha, that was easy. And then you're going to take your baking powder and you want to make sure that you kind of spread it around, because if you dump it all in one spot, then you're going to get a lot of baking powder in one spot. And then your baking, now it's a little humid today, so I'm going to knock this around. Then your baking soda. Now remember, it was 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder and then 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 1/4 cups of that flour blend. And then all you do, you just whisk it up, you guys. Super easy. And then we'll be on to our next step. Okay, guys, it's step 2. And step 2 involves putting pumpkin in the saucepan. So you're going to have your saucepan on medium heat. You're going to put, ooh, do you hear that? Oh. If you have a gas burner, right now mine's on 4. I'll probably turn it down to 3 though, because you don't want to burn your pumpkin, okay? And then you're going to put in your cinnamon, all your spices, basically. So there's the cinnamon. You're going to put in your salt. Oh, sorry, tap, tap, tap. It's humid, so the salt sticks. And you're going to put in your nutmeg, and your cloves. Clovey clove. Oh, get out, cloves. Okay. All right, so then you're going to stir, and you want to stir this continuously for 2 to 4 minutes. So we're going to do about 2 minutes, I think. You just want to stir it until it's reduced just a little bit and the color is uniform. So while I'm stirring, I want to talk about pumpkin and how amazing pumpkin is. And pumpkin is amazing as well. The pumpkin seeds, you guys, are like insane. So I just want to talk about the fact that you can you can cook down an entire pumpkin and use almost all of it. You can use the inside of it, and you can use the seeds, and it's fantastic. So a lot of what's in the seeds, you've got a lot of fiber. You've got something called phytoestrogens, which helps with hypertension. You have tryptophan, which everybody knows about, the turkey, Thanksgiving turkey. Gives you tryptophan, makes you sleepy. It also helps with serotonin levels. It makes you feel happy. So pumpkin makes you feel happy. That's why we love pumpkin. And then, of course, because of its lovely orange color, we have beta carotene. And there's also almost twice the amount, like if you have a cup of pumpkin, you get almost twice the amount of vitamin A than what you need in a daily serving. So if you were like cube up some pumpkin and just put it into like a risotto or something, you would get all your vitamin A and you'd be able to see in the dark. No, I'm kidding. We can't see in the dark, really. But you would be able to take care of your eyes pretty well. So, so yeah, that's, I don't know. I just wanted to share that about pumpkin. That's part of the reason I love it so much. Plus, it tastes amazing. It's like, it's a squash, but it's like a sweet-tasting squash, and I love that. So, plus you can put it in all sorts of desserts and breads and things. So this has reduced down just a little bit. I'm going to show you. That's what it looks like when it's reduced. So, now we're going to go on to... Oh, sorry, tap, 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 tap. Now we're going to go on to the next step, and we're going to go right into that, and that's going to involve removing it from the heat. So we want to turn off the heat, and then what you're going to do is you're going to now dump in your sugars, okay? So we get our sugars. This is technically step 3, but because we want it to remain hot, I'm doing it right now as we go. And then we're going to do the brown sugar. Brown sugar. Sugar. I love it. And then you're going to stir in that sugar. So it looks a little bit like this. It's going to get more like gooey and a little bit more liquidy. So getting that, and make sure if your brown sugar is lumpy because of humidity, get those lumps out of there. You want to make sure that it's all very nice and like, I'm so smooth, and like it looks like caramel almost. It's like, It reminds me of Monster hands, except it's not on my hands. So then what we want is we want to put in the oil, the grapeseed oil. And that makes it, most quick breads require oil, unfortunately. So I think you could probably use applesauce too if you wanted to, but it might have a bit of a different texture. So, and then we want to put our secret ingredient, the cream cheese. All right, so, whoa, there that went, splat. All right, and the reason we wanted this to still be hot is because this cream cheese, this particular brand that I use, vegan cream cheese, it does melt, but it takes longer to melt. So that's what you want to keep stirring it, and you want to stir it until it melts fully. And then while we're melting this, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to have you go mix together the eggs and the buttermilk, because that'll be the next step. So I'll see you on the flip side. Okay, so this step involves putting together the buttermilk and then mixing it with the eggs. So for the buttermilk, you want to make sure that you use your apple cider vinegar, or you can also use the lemon juice. 1 teaspoon goes into 2 tablespoons of a milk of your choice. Then you want to take it for a spin. You just want to kind of mix it just a little bit so that it's uniform in color. And then I always like to pour the eggs first. So eggs go in, and then milk goes in. And again, it's just sour milk. So that's really what's happening. And then you whisk. Whisk, 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 whisk. Anybody remember on that movie, in the Christmas movie, where Sarah Jessica Parker is like, whisk, 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 da, 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 da. I love it. She goes so fast. I can't go that fast. But I love it. And that's it. You don't want to over whisk it. You just want to do it until it's well mixed and yellow. That's the color you're looking for. Okay. Ooh. Now we put, do you remember those eggs and buttermilk we just did? Yeah, in they go. Oh. It's like a science experiment, you guys. It's totally cool. Let me show you what it looks like. it really does kind of look like a science experiment at that point. So you want to make sure you mix in your eggs and buttermilk mixture with your pumpkin mixture. The heat is not on, it's off. Remember, you just spent about 5 minutes stirring in that cream cheese so that it was nice and liquidy. So now we're spending another about minute stirring in the egg mixture, egg and buttermilk mixture, until it looks pretty uniform in color. And then, remember way back when we put all the flour together with the baking soda and the baking powder? Finally, we get to use it. Yay! So here it goes. And you're just stirring and stirring. And this is the part where it becomes the bread, because we added the flour to the wet ingredients, and it's very exciting. So it looks a little like that, you know, stirring it in. Make sure you get all the way to the bottom, because you don't want any lumps. Okay? So make sure we're stirring, and we're going to spin and stir and spin and stir and spin and stir. And here we go. Continuing to go. There's some flour at the bottom, and making sure I get that. And then the last step you want to do, it changes color, you guys. It changes to this really pretty, like kind of what pumpkin would look like when it's baked, like a pumpkin pie. A pumpkin pie. Okay, and then you want to take your dish, and you want to pour all of this into your dish. And after you have poured this into your dish, you're going to put it into the oven, 350 degrees, already preheated, and you're going to do that for 45 to 60 minutes. Now, on my oven, it takes about 60 minutes, but it might take less for you. So you want to start checking at about 45 minutes, and you can do that by inserting either a toothpick or a knife into the center of the bread to see if it is done. You'll know it's done when it comes out clean. Awesome. Let's go and bake this. When your bread is out of the oven, you want to make sure that you take it and put it onto a wire cooling rack for 20 minutes. Leave it in the loaf pan for that 20 minutes. Then after 20 minutes, take it out of the loaf pan, put it back on the wire rack, and let it cool for about an hour till it's completely cooled. And then you get to taste it. It is time for my favorite part, eating my favorite food. Pumpkin bread, here I come. All right. I love pumpkin bread. I'm going to talk with my mouth full because this pumpkin bread is awesome. Moist, cinnamony, pumpkin-y. Ooh. Let me swallow her. There we go. It's also awesome because you see how thick it is. And usually when it's thick like this and it looks kind of bready, it gets dry. Not dry. So moist. And it's thanks to that buttermilk and that cream cheese. That's what gives it the moisture. And I love it. And it's so good. And I can't wait for you guys to all try it. You've got to go make it this fall. Please, please go make it and share it with your family and friends. This is Mary Beth Eversole, the Allergy Actress, signing off for now.